Imagine a team that was so bad that bicycle manufacturers refused to sell them bikes. They were afraid it would hurt their brand reputation if people saw this team riding their gear. This was the state of British cycling in the early 2000s. For 100 years, they had been mediocre. They had won just a single gold medal at the Olympic Games since 1908. In the Tour de France, the biggest race in the world, no British cyclist had ever won, not once, in 110 years. The team was a joke. The athletes were discouraged. The country had given up on them. But then in 2003, everything changed. They hired a man named Dave Brailsford, and Dave was different. He didn't focus on the big goal. He didn't walk in and say, "We are going to win the Tour de France." No, he believed in a philosophy that he called the aggregation of marginal gains. It sounds complicated, but it is actually very simple. It means searching for a tiny margin of improvement in everything you do. Dave said the whole principle came from the idea that if you broke down everything you could think of that goes into riding a bike and then improved it by just 1%, you'll get a significant increase when you put them all together. So they started with the obvious things. They redesigned the bike seats to make them more comfortable. They rubbed alcohol on the tires for better grip. But then they went deeper. They looked for the 1% in places nobody else was looking. They tested different massage gels to see which one led to the fastest muscle recovery. They hired a surgeon to teach each rider the best way to wash their hands so they wouldn't catch a cold and miss training. They even painted the inside of the team truck white. Why? So they could spot little bits of dust that would normally slip by unnoticed, but could degrade the performance of the finely tuned bikes. Hundreds of tiny atomic improvements. Most people looked at this and laughed. Washing hands? Painting trucks? How is this going to win a gold medal? But the math doesn't lie. Just 5 years later, at the Beijing Olympics, the British cycling team dominated the world. They won 60% of all the gold medals available. For years later, at the London Olympics, they set 9 Olympic records and 7 world records. And that Tour de France victory they had been chasing for a century, Bradley Wiggins became the first British cyclist to win it. Then Chris Froome won it. Then he won it again, and again, and again. In a 10-year span, a team that was once the laughingstock of the world won 5 Tour de France victories and 66 Olympic or World Championship gold medals. How did this happen? How does a team of ordinary athletes transform into world champions with just tiny changes? The answer is atomic habits. Welcome to the audio experience of Atomic Habits by James Clear. My name is your name, and for the next few hours, we are not just going to read a book. We're going to install a new operating system in your brain. We are going to destroy the myth that massive success requires massive action. We are taught that if you want to lose weight, you need a radical diet. If you want to build a business, you need a massive launch. If you want to write a book, you need a burst of inspiration. We put so much pressure on ourselves to make some earth-shattering improvement that everyone will talk about. But the truth is, real change comes from the compound effect of 1%. Here is the math. If you can get just 1% better each day for 1 year, you will end up 37 times better by the time you are done. 37 times. But if you get 1% worse each day for 1 year, you will decline down to nearly zero. A small habit is like an atom. It is the fundamental unit of a larger system. At first, these tiny habits seem to make no difference. You go to the gym for 3 days, you are still out of shape. You study French for an hour. You still haven't learned the language. You save money for a month. You are still not a millionaire. So we quit. We say, I've been working hard for a month and nothing has changed. This is where 99% of people fail. They fail because they don't understand the plateau of latent potential. Imagine an ice cube sitting on a table in front of you. The room is cold, 25 degrees. Your goal is to melt the ice cube. You heat the room up, 26 degrees. Nothing happens, 27 degrees. The ice cube is still solid, 28 degrees. Still nothing. You are working hard. You are putting in the energy, but you see no result. You feel like a failure. 29 degrees, 30 degrees, 31 degrees. Still just a block of ice. But then 32 degrees. The ice begins to melt. A 1 degree shift. Seemingly no different from the temperature increases before it, unlocked a huge change. Were your efforts at 26, 27, and 28 degrees wasted? No, they were simply stored. They were building the potential energy required to break through. This is why you feel stuck. You are complaining about not seeing results despite working hard. It is like complaining that an ice cube isn't melting when you heated it from 25 to 31 degrees. Your work was not wasted. It is just being stored. And when you finally break through that plateau, people will call you an overnight success. They see the water melting. They didn't see the heating. This book is about how to heat the room. It is about how to stick with it when you are at 31 degrees and you want to quit. We're going to learn the 4 laws of behavior change. We're going to learn how to make good habits obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. And we're going to learn how to break bad habits by making them invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. But before we get into the tactics, we need to talk about the biggest mistake people make, the mistake of goals. We live in a goal-oriented society. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to write a best-selling book. I want to make $1 million. We think the goal is the thing that matters. We think if we just stare at the goal hard enough, we will achieve it. But James Clear discovered something fascinating. Winners and losers have the same goals. Think about the Olympics. Every athlete on that track has the goal of winning the gold medal. Every candidate wants the job. If the goal is the same, then the goal cannot be the thing that differentiates the winner from the loser. The goal didn't make the British cycling team win. They wanted to win every year before that. The goal was always there. The results only came when they changed their system. Goals are about the results you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes that lead to those results. If you are a coach, your goal might be to win a championship. Your system is the way you recruit players, manage your assistant coaches, and conduct practice. If you are an entrepreneur, your goal might be to build $1 million business. Your system is how you test product ideas, hire employees, and run marketing campaigns. If you are a musician, your goal might be to play a new piece. Your system is how often you practice, how you break down and tackle difficult measures, and your method for receiving feedback. Now, here is a controversial question. If you completely ignored your goals and focused only on your system, would you still succeed? If you were a basketball coach and you ignored the championship goal and focused only on what your team does at practice each day, would you still get results? The answer is yes. The score takes care of itself. Goals are good for setting a direction, but systems are best for making progress. A handful of problems arise when you spend too much time thinking about your goals and not enough time designing your systems. Problem number 1, winners and losers have the same goals. We covered this. Survivorship bias. We look at the winners and say, they had a big goal, but we ignore the millions of losers who had the exact same goal. Problem number 2, achieving a goal is only a momentary change. Imagine you have a messy room. You set a goal to clean it. You summon the energy. You clean it. Now you have a clean room. But if you maintain the same sloppy habits that led to a messy room in the first place, soon you will have a messy room again. You treated the symptom without addressing the cause. You achieved the goal, but you didn't change the system. Problem number 3, goals restrict your happiness. The implicit assumption behind any goal is this: once I reach my goal, then I'll be happy. You are putting off happiness until the future. You are telling yourself, I am not good enough yet. And if you fail, you are a failure with a systems first mentality. You can be satisfied anytime your system is running. You don't have to wait for the finish line to feel good. You feel good every time you do the workout, every time you write the page. Problem number 4, goals are at odds with long-term progress. What happens after you cross the finish line? Many runners work hard for months for a marathon, but as soon as they cross the finish line, they stop training. The goal is gone, so the motivation is gone. This is why so many people yo-yo diet. They lose the weight goal achieved, so they go back to eating junk. The purpose of setting goals is to win the game. The purpose of building systems is to continue playing the game. True long-term thinking is goal-less thinking. It's not about any single accomplishment. It is about the cycle of endless refinement and continuous improvement. Ultimately, it is your commitment to the process that will determine your progress. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So, how do we build a system? It starts with the deepest layer of behavior change. It starts with identity. There are 3 layers of behavior change. Imagine them like an onion. The outer layer is outcomes. This is what you get: losing weight, winning a game. The middle layer is process. This is what you do: going to the gym, cleaning your desk. The inner layer, the core, is identity. This is what you believe. Most people try to change their habits by focusing on the outcome. I want to be skinny. I want to be rich. But the most effective way to change your habits is to focus on who you wish to become. Imagine 2 people resisting a cigarette. When offered a smoke, the first person says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." It sounds reasonable, but this person still believes they are a smoker who is trying to be something else. They are hoping their behavior will change while carrying around the same beliefs. The second person declines by saying, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." It's a small difference, but this statement signals a shift in identity. Smoking was part of their former life, not their current one. They no longer identify as someone who smokes. True behavior change is identity change. You might start a habit because of motivation, but the only reason you stick with one is that it becomes part of your identity. The goal is not to read a book. The goal is to become a reader. The goal is not to run a marathon. The goal is to become a runner. The goal is not to learn an instrument. The goal is to become a musician. Your behaviors are usually a reflection of your identity. What you do is an indication of the type of person you believe that you are. I'm the kind of person who is always late. I'm the kind of person who is bad at math. I'm the kind of person who can't wake up early. As long as you believe these stories, you will sabotage yourself to stay consistent with them. So, how do you change your identity? You cannot just snap your fingers and decide you are a new person. You need proof. This is where atomic habits come in. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single instance will transform your beliefs, but as the votes build up, so does the evidence of your new identity. If you go to the gym, that is one vote for I am an athlete. If you write one page, that is one vote for I am a writer. If you make your bed, that is one vote for I am organized. You don't need to be perfect. In any election, there are votes for both sides. You just need the majority of votes to win. So decide the type of person you want to be. and prove it to yourself with small wins. Now that we understand the system and the identity, let's get practical. Let's talk about the first law of behavior change. Make it obvious. Most of your habits are invisible to you. You brush your teeth, check your phone, and drive to work without even thinking about it. The Japanese railway system has a fascinating method to prevent mistakes. It is called pointing and calling. Every time the train operator sees a signal, he points at it and calls out, "Signal is green." When the train enters a station, he points at the speedometer and calls out, "Speed is 60." It looks silly, but this system reduces errors by 85%. Why? Because it raises a non-conscious habit to a conscious level. You need to do the same with your habits. You can't change a habit if you don't know it exists. Create a habit scorecard. Write down everything you do in a day. Wake up, turn off alarm, check phone, go to bathroom, weigh myself, shower, brush teeth, then mark each habit. Is a good habit plus? A bad habit? Or a neutral habit equals sign? Don't judge yourself. Just observe. Oh, I spend 30 minutes on Instagram every morning. Awareness is the first step to change. Once you are aware, you need a plan. The two most common cues for any habit are time and location. Many people think they lack motivation, when what they really lack is clarity. I'm going to eat healthier. I'm going to write more. These are vague wishes. They are not plans. To build a new habit, you need an implementation intention. The formula is simple. I will behavior at time and location. Don't say, I will work out. Say, I will exercise for 1 hour at 5 p.m. in my local gym. Don't say, I will read more. Say, I will read 1 chapter at 8 p.m. in my bedroom. When you give your habit a specific time and place, you remove the need to make a decision. You don't have to wake up and ask, should I work out today? The decision has already been made, but we can take this a step further. We can use a technique called habit stacking. The French philosopher Denis Diderot once bought a beautiful new scarlet robe. It was gorgeous, but then he noticed that his old rug looked ugly compared to the robe. So he bought a new rug. Then his chair looked ugly, so he bought a new chair. Soon, he had replaced everything in his room. This is a Diderot effect. One purchase leads to another. We can use this for habits. One habit leads to another. The formula for habit stacking is, after current habit, I will new habit. You already have habits you do every day without fail. Use them as a trigger. After I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. After I take off my work shoes, I will immediately put on my workout clothes. After I sit down to dinner, I will say one thing I am grateful for. The key is to be specific. Don't say after I eat lunch. That is too vague. Say when I close my laptop for lunch, or when I put my plate in the dishwasher. The more specific the cue, the more likely you are to notice it. But there is one more thing that matters more than your motivation, more than your willpower. It is your environment. In 1971, the Vietnam War was heading into its 16th year, and the U.S. government discovered something terrifying. 15% of U.S. soldiers stationed in Vietnam were heroin addicts. The public was panicked. They thought, we are going to have thousands of junkies coming home to American streets. But that didn't happen. When the soldiers came home, 90% of them stopped using heroin overnight. They didn't go to rehab. They didn't have withdrawals. They just stopped. This contradicted everything we knew about addiction. We thought addiction was a moral failure or a permanent chemical hook. But the soldiers showed us something else. In Vietnam, they were surrounded by cues to use heroin. Stress, War, friends using it, easy access. When they came home, the environment changed. No stress of war, no friends using it, no access. The cues were gone, so the habit died. Environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. If you want to change your habits, change your environment. If you want to drink more water, put water bottles in every room. Make it obvious. If you want to practice guitar, put your guitar stand in the middle of the living room. Don't hide it in the closet. If you want to eat more fruit, put a bowl of apples on the counter. Don't hide them in the crisper drawer. And the opposite is true for bad habits. If you want to stop checking your phone, leave it in another room. If you want to stop playing video games, unplug the console and put it in the closet after each use. If you want to stop eating junk food, don't buy it. If it's not in the house, you can't eat it. Self-control is a short-term strategy, not a long-term one. You might be able to resist a cookie once, but if the cookies are sitting on your desk all day, eventually you will eat one. The people with the best self-control are typically the ones who need to use it the least. They design their lives so they are not constantly tempted. So stop relying on willpower. Make the good cues obvious and make the bad cues invisible. We are creatures of desire. Without desire, there is no action. This brings us to the second law of behavior change. Make it attractive. In the 1950s, scientists discovered the pleasure center of the brain. They implanted electrodes in the brains of rats. When the rat pressed a lever, it received a small zap to the pleasure center. The rats became addicted. They pressed the lever thousands of times per hour. They stopped eating. They stopped sleeping. They pressed the lever until they died of exhaustion. We are not so different. We have a neurotransmitter called dopamine. Dopamine is not about pleasure. It is about desire. When you eat chocolate, dopamine is released. But here is the interesting part. Dopamine is released before you eat the chocolate. It is released when you see the chocolate. It is the anticipation of the reward, not the reward itself. That gets us to take action. It is the craving. If you want to build a habit, you need to spike your dopamine. You need to make it attractive. How? By using a strategy called temptation bundling. This strategy pairs an action you want to do with an action you need to do. Ronan Byrne was an engineering student in Ireland. He loved watching Netflix, but he also knew he needed to exercise. So he hacked his stationary bike. He wrote a computer program that would only allow Netflix to play if he was cycling at a certain speed. If he slowed down, Netflix paused. He was bundling the temptation, watching Netflix, with the habit, cycling. He was literally pedaling for entertainment. You can do this too. Only listen to your favorite podcast while you are at the gym. Only get a pedicure while you are processing overdue work emails. Only watch your favorite show while you are folding laundry. The formula is, after current habit, I will habit I need. After habit I need, I will habit I want to asterisk. After I pull out my phone, I will do 10 burpees need. After I do 10 burpees, I will check Instagram want. But there's another way to make habits attractive. We imitate the habits of three groups: the close, the many, and the powerful. 1, the close. We pick up habits from the people around us. Our parents, our friends, our roommates. If your best friend is a fitness nut, you are more likely to work out. If your roommates eat pizza every night, you are likely to gain weight. The most effective thing you can do to build better habits is to join a culture where your desired behavior is the normal behavior. If you want to be a reader, join a book club. If you want to be a runner, join a running group. Nothing sustains motivation better than belonging to the tribe. 2, the many. When we are unsure, we look to the group. We check Amazon reviews. We look at what is trending. The social norm is a powerful gravity. If you walk into a library, you lower your voice. Why? Because everyone else is whispering. If you want to break a bad habit, but everyone around you is doing it, it will be very hard. You need to find a tribe where the bad habit is looked down upon. 3, the powerful. We imitate people we admire. Successful people. Celebrities. We want to be like them. We copy their morning routines. We dress like them. We do this because we want the status they have. If a habit can get us approval, respect, and praise, we find attractive. So, to make a habit attractive, bundle it with something you love. Join a tribe where it is normal, and visualize the identity of the person you want to become. But what if a habit is hard? What if you want to go to the gym, but you are tired? What if you want to read, but the book is boring? That is where the 3rd law comes in. Make it easy. Imagine a photography class. On the first day of the term, the professor divides the students into 2 groups. Group A is the quantity group. Their grade depends solely on the amount of work they produce. If they submit 100 photos, they get an A. If they submit 90, they get a B. Group B is the quality group. They only have to produce 1 photo, just 1. But to get an A, it has to be nearly perfect. At the end of the term, something surprising happened. The best photos, the highest quality art, were all produced by the quantity group. Why? Because while the quantity group was busy taking photos, experimenting with lighting, making mistakes, and learning from them, the quality group was sitting around just thinking about perfection. In the end, the quality group had a lot of unverified theories and 1 mediocre photo. This highlights the difference between motion and action. Motion is planning, strategizing, learning. Action is a behavior that delivers an outcome. If you outline 20 ideas for articles, that is motion. If you actually write and publish 1 article, that is action. If you search for a diet plan, that is motion. If you eat a healthy meal, that is action. We love motion. Motion makes us feel like we are making progress without the risk of failure. But motion is just a fancy form of procrastination. You don't want to plan to be a writer. You want to be a writer. And to do that, you need to embrace the 3rd law. Make it easy. Human behavior follows the law of least effort. We are biologically wired to conserve energy. We naturally gravitate toward the option that requires the least amount of work. If you want to read more, but your book is on a high shelf in another room, you probably won't read. If you want to check Instagram and your phone is in your pocket, you will check it every 5 minutes. The friction is low. So, to build good habits, we must reduce friction. We must master the prime the environment technique. This means organizing your space so that the next action is easy. Want to draw more? Put your pencils and sketchbook on top of your desk, not in a drawer. Want to exercise? Lay out your workout clothes the night before. Put your shoes right next to the bed. Want to eat healthy? Chop up the fruit and vegetables on Sunday and put them in clear containers at eye level in the fridge. You are removing the steps between you and the good behavior, but we can flip this for bad habits. We can increase friction. If you watch too much TV, take the batteries out of the remote after each use. If that's not enough, unplug the TV and put it in the closet. If you want to watch TV, you have to go to the closet, plug it in, and find the batteries. That extra effort is usually enough to stop a mindless habit. James Clear tells a story about Victor Hugo, the famous writer. Hugo was facing a tight deadline for a book, but he kept procrastinating. He was going to parties, hosting friends, and doing everything except writing. So he did something extreme. He collected all of his clothes. He put them in a chest, and he told his assistant to lock them away. He was left with nothing but a large shawl. He had no clothes to go outside. He had no clothes to entertain guests. He increased the friction of leaving the house to an impossible level. So he wrote, and he finished The Hunchback of Notre Dame 2 weeks early. You don't need to lock away your clothes, but you do need to ask yourself, how can I make the good habit the path of least resistance? And how can I make the bad habit difficult? But sometimes, even if it is easy, starting is the hardest part. The gym is only 5 minutes away, but the idea of a 1-hour workout feels exhausting. This is where we use the most powerful tool in the book, the 2-minute rule. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Read that again, less than 2 minutes. You might say, but my goal is to run a marathon. I can't do that in 2 minutes. My goal is to write a novel. 2 minutes is nothing. You are missing the point. A habit must be established. Before it can be improved, you cannot optimize a habit that does not exist. If you can't learn the basic skill of showing up, you have little hope of mastering the finer details. So scale it down. Read before bed each night becomes read 1 page. Do 30 minutes of yoga becomes take out my yoga mat. Study for class becomes open my notes. Run 3 miles becomes tie my running shoes. The goal is not to do the whole thing. The goal is to master the show up once you have tied your running shoes. You are already in the motion. It is much easier to run once the shoes are on, once you have opened the notes. It is easy to study for 10 minutes, but if you stare at the mountain, you will never climb. Make the first 2 minutes easy. Make them ritualistic. Once you start, the rest follows. This is how you stop procrastination. You trick your brain. You are not committing to an hour. You are committing to 2 minutes. And anyone can do 2 minutes. Now, let's talk about the 4th law. Make it satisfying. The first 3 laws make it obvious, attractive, and easy. Increase the odds that a behavior will be performed this time. But the 4th law increases the odds that a behavior will be repeated next time. We are ruled by the cardinal rule of behavior change. What is rewarded is immediately repeated. What is punished is immediately avoided. Our brains evolved in an immediate return environment. For thousands of years, if you hunted, you ate. If you ran from a tiger, you survived. The reward was instant. But today, we live in a delayed return environment. You go to work today, you get paid in 2 weeks. You exercise today, you lose weight in 3 months. You save money now, you retire in 30 years. The problem is, our animal brain still craves immediate rewards. This is why bad habits are so sticky. Smoking kills you in 10 years, but it reduces stress right now. Overeating makes you obese in the long run, but the sugar tastes good right now. The cost of your good habits is in the present. The cost of your bad habits is in the future. So, to stick to a good habit, you need to add a little bit of immediate pleasure to the habits that pay off in the long run. You need to feel successful immediately. One of the best ways to do this is visual proof. In 1993, a bank hired a 23-year-old stockbroker named Trent Dersmit. Trent was a rookie. Nobody expected much from him, but he had a secret weapon. On his desk, he had 2 jars. One jar was filled with 120 paper clips. The other jar was empty. Every morning, he would start with the full jar. He would make a sales call. Immediately after hanging up, he would move 1 paper clip to the empty jar. He would not go home until all 120 paper clips had been moved. Within 18 months, Trent was bringing in $5 million to firm. He was making $75,000 a year, which is the equivalent of $125,000 today. He didn't focus on the rejection. He didn't focus on a long-term goal. He focused on the paperclip. Click, move, done. Click, Move. Done. This is the power of habit tracking. Get a calendar. Put a big red X on every day you stick to your habit. Don't break the chain. Seeing that row of X's is satisfying. It gives you a hit of dopamine. It proves you are making progress. But life happens. You will get sick. You will get busy. You will miss a day. This is where the amateurs quit. They say, I broke the streak. I might as well give up. The pros follow a different rule. The rule of never miss twice. If you miss one day, get back on track immediately. Missing once is an accident. Missing twice is the start of a new habit. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent. A bad workout is better than no workout. 10 minutes of reading is better than zero. Don't let the all or nothing mentality destroy your progress. Lost days hurt you more than successful days help you. If you have $100 and you lose 50%, you need a 100% gain just to get back to where you started. Avoid the zero. We have built the system. But now, let's talk about the harsh truth. Talent matters. Genes matter. Michael Phelps is the greatest swimmer in history. He is 6 feet 4 inches. He has a long torso and short legs. His body is built like a canoe. Hisham El Guru is one of the greatest runners in history. He is 5 feet 9 inches. He has incredibly long legs and a short torso. If Michael Phelps tried to be a runner, he would fail. If El Guru tried to be a swimmer, he would drown. Genes do not determine your destiny. They determine your areas of opportunity. The secret to maximizing your success is to choose the right field of competition. Habits are easier when they align with your natural abilities. If you are 4 feet tall, don't try to be a pro basketball player. Play a game where the odds are in your favor. But once you pick the right game, how do you stay motivated forever? How do the best in the world do it? The answer is the Goldilocks rule. Imagine you're playing tennis against a 4-year-old. You'll get bored instantly. It is too easy. Now imagine playing against Roger Federer. You will get crushed. You will give up. It is too hard. But if you play against someone who is just equal to you, maybe slightly better, you will be engaged. You will be in the zone. You have a chance to win, but you have to try hard. This is the Goldilocks zone. Humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are right on the edge of their current abilities. If you want to stay motivated, you need to constantly push the limit, just a little bit. This is why the 1% rule works. It keeps you in the Goldilocks zone. But even then, there is one final enemy: boredom. We think successful people have some burning passion that never dies. But the truth is, successful people get bored just like everyone else. The difference is they find a way to show up even when they are bored. The greatest threat to success is not failure. It is boredom. We get bored with habits because they stop delighting us. The outcome becomes expected. So we look for novelty. We jump to a new diet, a new business idea, a new workout routine. We become masters of starting and amateurs of finishing. Variable rewards can help, but ultimately, you have to fall in love with boredom. If you want to be a professional, you stick to the schedule. If you are an amateur, you let life get in the way. Professionals take action even when the mood isn't right. They might not enjoy it, but they do the reps, stepping up when it is annoying or painful or draining. That is what makes the difference between professional and an amateur. The only way to become excellent is to be endlessly fascinated by doing the same thing over and over. You have to fall in love with boredom. So, where do we go from here? We have learned the 4 laws. Make it obvious. Make it attractive. Make it easy. Make it satisfying. We have learned to focus on systems, not goals. We have learned that identity is the North Star of habit change. But I want to leave you with one final thought. The Sorites paradox. It goes like this. Can one coin make a person rich? If you give a person a pile of 10 coins, you wouldn't say that he or she is rich. But what if you add another, and another, and another? At some point, you will have to admit that no one can be rich unless one coin can make him or her so. The same is true for atomic habits. Can one tiny change transform your life? It's unlikely you would say so. But what if you made another, and another, and another? At some point, you will have to admit that your life was transformed by one small change. The holy grail of habit change is not a single 1% improvement, but 1,000 of them. It's a bunch of atomic habits stacking up, each one a fundamental unit of the overall system. Success is not a goal to reach or a finish line to cross. It is a system to improve, an endless process to refine. There is no finish line. There is no permanent solution. Whenever you stop looking for improvements, you stop improving. So look at your life. Where can you get 1% better today? Where can you remove the friction? Where can you make it obvious? You do not need to be a superhuman. You do not need to have iron willpower. You just need to be a little bit better than you were yesterday. And then do it again tomorrow. Small habits, big difference. That is the power of atomic habits. Thank you for listening. Now, go build your system.